Oh! Hi everybody, sorry about that. Sorry, new MP3 player that I got for Christmas. Hi everybody, it's Emma Blue Eyes 10 here, and well, this video was it's actually kind of a request video that was asked by some of the members of the KCP as to what my top 10 hated Yu-Gi-Oh cards were that I've come across so far. Because I've already done a top 10 favourites for spells, traps and magic cards, but that was about half a year ago, which I'm actually going to probably update later on this year. But anyway, enjoy this one. Starting with number 10, Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind. This card was more of a frustration really than a hindrance really, rather than frustration or anything, because well, it can special summon when there's another Blackwing, which is quite often. It's searchable via Black Whirlwind and Sangan, little things like that. But its effect is just a bit of a hindrance, that it can have monsters attack permanently, and the amount of times it was used mainly on my Blue Eyes dragons for other monsters to run over was freaking annoying. And the fact it's a little tuner monster as well means half my Blue Eyes synchro into something big, run over Blue Eyes. Yeah, so that's number 10. Number 9 is Honest, and this is actually a love-hate card for me. I love Honest, and I used to run it in my deck, as you know, a long time ago, but unfortunately now that my deck is very dragon based with Totem Dragon and everything, I can't really use Honest anymore, but I wish I could because it's such a good card. But I really hate it when it's used against me, if you see what I mean. The amount of times I've run into a light monster, I mean, you expect it for fairies, yes, but the amount of times I've run into a light monster and had an Honest dropped on me, which was unexpected. It was like, what? So yeah, there's number 9, a love-hate card, Honest. Number 8 is Monster Reborn, and this again is a love-hate card. I love it because it's so versatile and it's the easiest way to get back Blue Eyes from the graveyard. It's a hate card as well because I really hate it when the opponent Monster Reborns my Blue Eyes dragons for their own uses. Nobody touches the Bluey and gets away with it. Number 7 is ARCHLORD KRISTYA. This card has actually become a recent dislike of mine, mainly because of its ability to lock down special summons, and my deck is quite heavy on special summon. Now, before it became big with the agents, Master Hyperion and the fairies and everything, I never really had much bother with this card, but since it's been reprinted, you know, it's become quite big with fairy decks, and it's been a pain in the neck, and it'll probably get limited or something for next format. But yeah, number 7, ARCHLORD KRISTYA. Number 6 is Card Destruction. This card was a bit tricky to choose because I had Morphing Jar on the list as well. But the difference between these two cards is Card Destruction is more annoying just in the fact that if it's played instantly you haven't got really anything to stop it, whereas with Morphing Jar, if your opponent sets quite a few cards and then sets a monster, you could 9 times out of 10 you can guarantee it's a Morphing Jar, and it's nearly played in almost every deck. Card Destruction, because it's an instant magic, as I said, you've got no real way to prepare for it. The amount of times Dark Petition 84, yes, you, has played this against me when I've had a really good hand has been very frustrating, to say the least. And ooh, you know, it's very frustrating when you have such a good hand. Well, in my case, my good hand has been like, I've had 3 Blue Eyes waiting for polymerization, somebody plays Card Destruction, I get poly in the next hand. Frustrating much? Number 5 is Ally of Justice, CATASTOR. This card, when it first came out, was a real pain in the neck because, as you know, most of my dragons are light types and therefore instantly die against this card. I don't know if it's just me, but I don't see this card played a lot nowadays. I'm guessing it's because of all the Chaos format and Twilight and everything, so people have got dark monsters to run over this card and everything. But with me, of course, it's a pain in the neck to get rid of unless I use spells, traps or monster effects, really. But the amount of times it has overrun my dragons, or my light type dragons at least, with its effect has been very frustrating and annoying to say the least. But if you know what's coming, you can prepare for it and get around it. So number 5 is CATASTOR. Number 4 is Brionac, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. When this card first came out, I thought it was a dragon and I wanted to get one, but when I found out it was actually a sea serpent, I was like, oh bugger, oh well, never mind. I thought it wouldn't actually be played very much because of the discard card for hand, because apparently it was, you know, from what I learned, hand advantage was always good, but when people started to play this in mass, the amount of times it was used to bounce a lot of my cards back to my hand when I had a really good field was very frustrating. Brionac was basically a lifesaver for a lot of players I dueled against because, well, in general, Blue Eyes White Dragon is still a very powerful and feared monster in honest truth. Well, not just Blue Eyes White Dragon, but all the Blue Eyes Dragons, really. But thankfully it can be run over. It's only 23 attack. It's just when the players call priority on its effect, that's when it really gets annoying, to me at least. Because if the priority ruling was different over here, Brionac wouldn't get its effect, but unfortunately priority rule is still in effect, so until they change it, Brionac's going to be number 4 on my top 10 hated. Entering the top 3 now, and coming in at number 3 is Bottomless Trap Hole. I hate this card with passion, I really do. In general, I hate remove from play cards. The amounts of times I have run into this card by getting caught in the heat of the moment, the excitement of the moment, and running into that really spoilt my mood, in honest truth. And also, the other really annoying thing is the amount of times it has bottomlessed my Shining Dragon has been very frustrating. I don't see it played a lot nowadays. I haven't had it played a lot against me recently, but I can get around it now. I've got Stardust Dragon, I've got Trap Stun, I've got Solemn Judgment and that now, so it's not as pain in the neck as it used to be, but I still hate it. Number 2 is Dimensional Prison. I really hate this card. Before they changed the ruling of this, it was very frustrating because I used to argue that the wording sounded like a targeting effect. So whenever my Shining Dragon or any of my dragons ran into this, you know, it was like, grrr, you know, almost get the attack through, and then that happens. It's one of the most frustrating moments you can have, or very frustrating cards I think in the game for any player, because it was mainly put in decks just to get around Stardust Dragon because, well, obviously Stardust can't negate it and stuff back in when the Synchros first started. But as I said, the most annoying thing about this card that I found was before they changed the ruling on it. When Shining Dragon ran into this card, Shining Dragon can negate targeting effects, and the ruling said it didn't target, and yet the wording sounded like it did, right? But now they've actually changed the card wording so it says target, so nowadays if people try to deprison Shining Dragon, it won't work because it does target nowadays. If you don't believe me, go and check out the Yugioh wiki or double check with your local judge or something. But it's more dangerous than Mirror Force or whatever in general, just because it doesn't destroy, so you've got very little to get around it. But like Bottomless Trap Hole, I have got ways to get around it now. You know, play Trap Stun, Solemn Judgment, sorry. and you've got no problem with it nowadays. So, but it's still my second most hated card. And the card that takes the #1 spot is Solemn Warning. I absolutely hate this card. I cannot believe Konami even dared to print this card. Oh my god. The funny thing is, when this card came out about a year and a half ago, I didn't think much of it. I actually got one in a booster and I traded it off for some good cards. I never actually saw how dangerous this card could be. I had played against it, like on Dueling Network and against some members of the KCP, but most of them don't normally run it. And even in the last few tournaments, it wasn't that much of a problem. It was only in the very last tournament when I made it to top 8, that's when it became a real problem. And the other thing was, well, it became a problem mainly because Dr. Cyanide Necros told me about a slightly obscure ruling about the Solemn Warning and Judgment that I did not know before. Basically, if you negate a monster's summon, technically because it never hits the field, it cannot be resurrected. The only monsters that are exempt from this are vanilla monsters or normal monsters, just because they don't have any summoning conditions or requirements. But anything that gets Solemn Judged or Solemn Warned, you cannot resurrect it at all. So when this was played against my Ultimate Dragon, just as I was about to get out Shining Dragon, that's all I can say. You know, it's so I really hate cards that stop me from summoning out Shining Dragon, and this really does take the biscuit. It's a counter trap, so you can't really counter against it unless you have another counter trap. But now I've got 2 traps done and everything. I should be okay if I play at the beginning of my turn, and that means I can get through the turn without having to worry about Bottomless, D-Prison, or Solemn Warning. But I just hate this card by passion now, I really do. If I ever get another one, I am immediately trading it off because I do not want anything to do with that card. I hate it with passion. And the sad thing is, 2,000 life points nowadays isn't that much of a cost. So it's a very versatile little card, and it's a big problem for my deck. So top spot is, with #1, is Solemn Warning, which is my absolute most hated card in Yu-Gi-Oh to date. And that's it, everybody. I hope you really enjoyed that. If I ever change any of the card lists and that, I'll probably do an update video on this. As said, I did do a top 10 favourites for Magic, Spells and Monster cards about half a year ago or so, but I probably will update it later on this year when more cards and packs and that come out. And well, as I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time. Bye!